Alright guys, here's a quick video talking about what we finished up in class today. Half of you guys looked at group 1 triangles and the other half looked at group 2 triangles, and then we found there were some similarities. If you look in group 1, this was triangle ABC. It had a 67-degree angle. The sides were 5, 12, and 13. And the opposite divided by the hypotenuse turned out to be 0.92, and the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse turned out to be 0.38. In group 2, the lengths were different. Angle A was still 67. These were different, but when we divided the opposite of the hypotenuse, we still got 0.92, and the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse was still 0.38, just like it was in group 1. So that tells us every time we have a 67-degree angle in a right triangle, we're going to have these ratios for our opposite divided by hypotenuse and adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And same thing for 53-degree angles and 41 and 30 and 28. So that's going to help us with 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I know we looked at 7 already, but I want to go back over it. So here we have a 53-degree angle. So I'm going to come back over here to either group 1 or group 2. So here's a 53-degree angle right here. So let me kind of circle it. So when I have a 53-degree angle, whoops, hang on a second there. When I have a 53-degree angle, the opposite divided by the hypotenuse is always going to turn out to be 0.8, right here. And the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse is always going to turn out to be 0.6. So in this particular problem, the opposite divided by the hypotenuse should be 0.8, and the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse should be 0.6. Alright, so when we're looking at this problem, here's the 53-degree angle right here. So y is the opposite, and 7 is the hypotenuse, and x is the adjacent. So opposite divided by hypotenuse should be 0.8. So that equation is going to be y divided by 7 should equal to 0.8. So if I'm going to solve this and figure out what y is, I would multiply by 7 on both sides. And so I get that y equals 0.8 times 7, which is 5.6. And so kind of draw it over here and make sure that looks about right. Yeah, we wouldn't want it to be longer than 7. We'd know we'd done something wrong. Okay, the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse should be 0.6. So 0.6 should equal the adjacent, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 7. So to solve for x, I'm going to multiply by 7. And so then I get, this cancels out, I get x equals 7 times 0.6, which is 4.2. Let's make sure that looks good too. It does look a little less than this side, so 4.2 and 5.6 looks pretty good on these problems, and that's correct. So now let's look at number 8. I'm going to get you started on that one, and then I'll let you finish the other ones. So here we have a 30-degree angle, and if we go back over here for 30-degree angles, 30-degree angles, our opposite divided by hypotenuse should be a half, and our adjacent divided by the hypotenuse should be 0.87. So opposite divided by hypotenuse is 0.5, and if I can remember, adjacent divided by hypotenuse is 0.87. So for this problem, this is going to be my opposite, this is going to be my adjacent, and this is going to be my hypotenuse. Now here's a problem. I can't do adjacent divided by hypotenuse because I got 2 missing things. So first I'm going to find I'm going to do opposite divided by hypotenuse, figure out what that answer is, and then I'll use that to help me figure out the other one. So opposite divided by hypotenuse is 0.5. So 0.5 equals 9.2 divided by z. Opposite divided by hypotenuse. So I got to figure out 9.2 divided by what would equal a half. So to undo this, I would multiply both sides by z. So it cancels out over here. So I get 9.2 equals 0.5z divided by 0.5. Z is equal to 9.2 divided by 0.5 is 18.4. So that would mean that the opposite is half of the hypotenuse. 9.2 divided by 18.4 is 0.5. If you try it out, 9.2 divided by 18.4, you can check it on your calculator, it is 0.5. So now I know the hypotenuse. Now I'm going to figure out x. The adjacent divided by the hypotenuse, x divided by Now I know the hypotenuse, 18.4, would be 0.87. Adjacent divided by hypotenuse is supposed to be 0.87. To solve for x, I would multiply by 18.4, and this cancels, and I get x equals 0.87 times 18.4. I'm going to get my calculator out for this. Oh, I got a calculator that's dead. Hang on. All right, 0.87 times 18.4 is 16 is what I get for x. 16 is the length for x. 16, 9.2, 18.4 would be my answers. All right, I'd like for you to do 9 and 10 for homework. 9 uses a 67-degree angle, so you come back over here and look for the 67-degree angle. So that's going to use these ratios. Opposite divided by hypotenuse would be 0.92, and adjacent divided by hypotenuse would be 0.38. And then number 10 is going to be a word problem, but it uses a 41-degree angle, and it wants you to find the height of this building. So you can figure out using your ratios. You can figure out some different sides, and you're going to probably, using what we know so far, have to first find the hypotenuse before you can find this opposite side. So do some checking on 9 and 10, and give it your best shot and see how you can do, and we'll talk some more about trig tomorrow. Good luck.